It was just another ordinary morning in the quiet town of Kenmare, County Kerry. Michael Gaine, a respected farmer, husband, and father, grabbed his coat, stepped into town, and picked up phone credit from a local shop. He smiled at the cashier. No signs of distress, no hint that something was wrong. And then he was gone. No calls, no texts, no return. For nearly 2 months, no one knew where he was. Until one afternoon, deep in the mud of his own farm, his body was found, broken and buried beneath gallons of slurry. And what followed was even more disturbing. An American ex soldier arrested, then released. A chainsaw found near the remains. A body missed during the first search of the tank. And a growing list of questions no one in Ireland can answer. This isn't just a disappearance. It's a puzzle soaked in silence, suspicion, and fear. Because what happened to Michael Gaine could happen to anyone. Before his name became a headline, Michael Gaine was just a man of the land. 56 years old, a quiet farmer from Kenmare in County Kerry. He'd lived his whole life working the soil of a 1,000-acre farm passed down through generations. People knew him as reliable old school, a man who kept to himself but was always willing to lend a hand. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't involved in drama. No criminal history, no bad blood in town. Just a routine. Wake up early, feed the animals, check the land, return home to his wife Janice. In the weeks before he vanished, there were no signs of trouble, no financial ruin, no reported threats, no talk of leaving. He wasn't the kind of man you'd expect to vanish, which is exactly why, when he did, it shook the entire town. Because when someone like Michael Gaine disappears, it doesn't feel like a coincidence. It was the morning of March 20th, 2025. Michael Gaine left his home like he had countless times before. At 9:32, he was captured on CCTV inside the Centre shop in Kenmare, buying €20 worth of phone credits. He was alone, calm, dressed for a normal day. The staff who saw him said nothing seemed unusual. He wasn't in a hurry. He didn't look distressed. That short visit is the last confirmed sighting of Michael Gaine alive. After that, his phone stopped pinging. He never came home. His wife, Janice, tried to reach him, no answer. By the following morning, she reported him missing. Search teams were quickly dispatched. Neighbors, Gardaí, even the army joined in. They swept his farm, checked the fields, drained the massive 50,000-gallon slurry tank, but still no trace. No Michael. No struggle. No blood. No phone. No body. Just silence. That's when the theories began. Following Michael Gaine's disappearance, his extensive 1,000-acre farm became the focal point of a massive search operation. Gardaí, assisted by the defense forces and local volunteers, conducted thorough searches of the property, including wooded areas, fields, and outbuildings. One area of particular interest was the farm's large slurry tank. On March 24th, the tank was drained, and members of the Kerry Fire Service, equipped with breathing apparatus, searched the remaining solids using poles and rods. Despite these efforts, no trace of Michael was found at that time. The case remained unsolved for nearly 2 months until May 16th, when a relative operating a slurry spreader encountered a blockage. Upon investigation, human remains were discovered in the slurry, later confirmed through DNA analysis to be those of Michael Gaine. This revelation raised critical questions about the initial search. Was the body present in the tank during the first inspection and somehow overlooked, perhaps due to the condition of the remains? Or were the remains placed there after the initial search, suggesting a deliberate attempt to conceal evidence? The discovery of Michael's remains so close to his home and after such extensive searches has left the community in shock and has intensified scrutiny of the investigation's early stages. Investigators believe that Gaine was murdered shortly after his disappearance and that his body was dismembered before being disposed of in the slurry tank. A chainsaw found on the property was sent for forensic analysis as it may have been used in the dismemberment. The fact that the slurry tank had been previously searched and nothing was found raises serious questions about the thoroughness of the initial investigation. It remains unclear whether the remains were present during the initial search or placed there afterward. This gruesome discovery has left the community in shock and has intensified the search for answers in this tragic case. In the aftermath of the grim discovery on Michael Gaine's farm, attention turned to those closest to him. One name stood out: Michael Kelly, a 53-year-old American and former U.S. Army soldier from Maine. Kelly had been living on Gaine's property for approximately 3 years, residing in the old family farmhouse at Carrig East. Their arrangement was informal. Kelly assisted with farm duties in exchange for accommodation. Locals described him as a reclusive figure rarely seen in town and someone who preferred to keep to himself. On May 18, 2025, just 2 days after Gaine's remains were found, Kelly was arrested in Tralee on suspicion of murder. He was detained and questioned for 24 hours before being released without charge. Kelly has consistently denied any involvement in Gaine's death. In interviews, he expressed his revulsion at the killing and suggested he was being framed by individuals involved in organized crime. Despite his release, Kelly remains a person of interest in the ongoing investigation. The Gardaí continue to explore all avenues, including the possibility of a dispute between Gaine and Kelly that may have escalated tragically. As the community grapples with the loss of a respected farmer, questions linger about the dynamics on the farm and whether trust was misplaced. In the complex narrative of Michael Gaine's disappearance and tragic death, a theory emerged suggesting the involvement of organized crime. This perspective was notably advanced by Michael Kelly, the American farmhand who had been living and working on Gaine's farm for approximately 3 years. Kelly, who was arrested and questioned in connection with the case before being released without charge, claimed he was being framed by individuals involved in organized crime. Kelly's assertion raises questions about potential criminal elements operating in the area and their possible motives. However, it's important to note that Gardaí have not publicly confirmed any links between Gaine's death and organized crime. The investigation remains focused on gathering evidence and exploring all plausible leads. While the theory of organized crime involvement adds a layer of intrigue to the case, it remains speculative without concrete evidence. The community continues to seek answers, and the investigation is ongoing, with authorities urging anyone with information to come forward. Amid the myriad theories surrounding Michael Gaine's tragic end, one perspective considers the possibility of an accidental death followed by a panicked cover up. Michael Gaine, a 56-year-old farmer from Kenmare, County Kerry, was known for his dedication to his 1,000-acre farm. On March 20th, 2025, he was last seen purchasing phone credit in Kenmare. His sudden disappearance prompted extensive searches, including the draining of a 50,000-gallon slurry tank on his property. Initially, these efforts yielded no results. 2 months later, on May 16th, human remains were discovered when a slurry spreader became jammed during fieldwork. DNA tests confirmed the remains belonged to Gaine, and the case was subsequently upgraded to a homicide investigation. The gruesome nature of the discovery, including dismembered body parts found in the slurry tank and fields, raises questions about the circumstances of Gaine's death. Some speculate that an accident may have occurred, leading to a panicked attempt to conceal the incident. However, Gardaí believe Gaine was murdered by someone known to him shortly after he arrived at the farmyard on the morning of March 20th. His body was then dismembered and disposed of in the slurry tank. A chainsaw found on the property was sent for forensic analysis, as it may have been used in the dismemberment. The initial search of the slurry tank did not uncover any remains, leading to questions about the thoroughness of the investigation. It remains unclear whether the remains were present during the initial search or placed there afterward. While the theory of an accidental death followed by a cover up cannot be entirely ruled out, the evidence suggests a more sinister scenario. The community continues to seek answers, and the investigation is ongoing, with authorities urging anyone with information to come forward. As the investigation into Michael Gaine's tragic death continues, several critical questions remain unanswered, leaving the community in Kenmare and beyond seeking clarity. 1. How did the initial search miss the remains? On March 24, 2025, just days after Michael's disappearance, the slurry tank on his farm was drained and searched by Gardaí and members of the Kerry Fire Service. Despite these efforts, no remains were found at that time. It wasn't until May 16th that human remains were discovered when a slurry spreader became jammed during fieldwork. This raises questions about the thoroughness of the initial search and whether the remains were present but overlooked or placed there afterward. 2. What was the motive behind the killing? Investigators believe that Michael Gaine was murdered by someone known to him shortly after he arrived at his farm on the morning of March 20th. However, the specific motive remains unclear. Was it a personal dispute, financial disagreement, or something else entirely? 3. Why was Michael Kelly arrested and then released? Michael Kelly, a 53-year-old American who had been living and working on Gaine's farm for approximately 3 years, was arrested on May 18th on suspicion of murder. He was questioned and later released without charge. Kelly has publicly denied any involvement, claiming he is being framed by individuals involved in organized crime. 4. Were there any signs of struggle or evidence at the scene? Michael's car, wallet, and phone were found at his farm with no signs of a struggle. The unusual parking of his vehicle and absence of signs of struggle or forensic evidence at the scene deepened suspicions. 5. What is the current status of the investigation? As of now, Gardaí continue to appeal for public assistance in the ongoing investigation. They have conducted extensive searches, including collaboration with multiple agencies and a forensic examination of a chainsaw found on the property. Despite these efforts, no charges have been filed, and the exact circumstances surrounding Michael Gaine's death remain a mystery. The tragic case of Michael Gaine has left a community in mourning and a nation seeking answers, despite extensive investigations, including over 130 witness statements and the review of 200 hours of CCTV and dashcam footage. The circumstances surrounding his death remain unclear. As we reflect on the theories and facts presented, we invite you to share your thoughts. Do you believe someone close to Michael was involved? Could this have been an accident that was subsequently covered up? Is there a possibility of organized crime playing a role? Your insights and discussions are valuable. Please leave a comment below with your perspective on this case. If you found this video informative, consider liking and subscribing to our channel for more in-depth investigations. We are committed to bringing you the latest updates on this case and others like it. Thank you for watching, and let's continue the conversation in the comments section.